You're now listening to the Something Good Podcast Network. Please press any key to continue.
What's up, everybody? You're listening to another fantastic episode of Kaiju Paradise with myself, Cap Nunn, and the couch potato himself, Chris Morrison.
What's up?
And today we're going to talk about a set of Godzilla movies that have come out within the last 10 years. A series of movies that became its own universe in a time where everything has to be its own cinematic universe, whether it's Marvel, DC, Disney, the Universal monsters tried for a minute. And oddly enough, I think this is one of the more successful universes that came out post, Marvel,
Yeah, so we had our last Final Wars came out in 2004.
Yes, and this is
which was like the last of the series. The great thing about the MonsterVerse series, it kind of rebooted Godzilla for Japan because they started redoing the Reiwa series, which is like Shin Godzilla.
Yes,
from 2016. But in this one, we start off with Godzilla, directed by Gareth Edwards.
And this kind of this is American made. This is American release, so America acquires the rights to all the Toho properties to release it in their theaters, and they're under the through Legendary Pictures, which is under the Universal umbrella.
Kind of. So this one, it's kind of a weird set because it still holds like the Toho franchise, but they're able to license it out.
Right.
Kinda. So, but with this Godzilla, like I said, directed by Gareth Edwards of 2014, starring Aaron Taylor Johnson, Ken Watanabe, Elizabeth Olsen. So we got two people from the Marvel Universe already.
And then Bryan Cranston, fresh off of Breaking Bad.
Yep. And Baby Cube.
Yep.
I forgot Baby Cube's.
He's in everything now.
Yeah, he's a great actor.
No. Where were you when you first heard about it and saw the trailer? Of course, this is maybe 15 years after the last American released Godzilla movie that nobody liked.
So I can't remember exactly. I remember when I first saw the trailer, it was in the movie theater.
Me too.
And so I got a cool experience for this. I forget the movie. It was me and my buddy Ken. We went to see a matinee showing of some Marvel movie, probably.
Yeah.
And it's a matinee showing. Nothing's going on. So it's the preview start, and it's the second preview. And 3 seats down from me is a little boy and his mom. And if you remember the trailer, it's very short.
Yeah.
But it opens up with the Halo jumpers, and they got the red flares, pops the red smoke coming off their feet while they're flying down, and it's that ominous music, and you're like, what the fuck kind of horror movie is this? It's kind of like, it kind of reminds you, like, did a nuke drop? Like,
right.
And it's like, god damn, they gotta fly in and shit, like it's Call of Duty or some shit. Great fucking imagery of just like 7 red lines cutting through the clouds, and you see what looks like lightning striking underneath them, like they're above, like they're so high up they're above the lightning.
Yes.
And you see like a streak of blue, and it's just like, what the fuck is this? And like it's so hot and cloudy that lightning's forming, and it's that noise, and then it kind of cuts to black, and then you see people running, screaming, and you see 2 giant like bomb shelter doors start closing, and then you see Godzilla.
Yeah, it's that shot from where it's just like a closing, and you see his face, you see it roar, and you're like,
hear
fuck.
And then and then it closes, and all the other parts of the trailer were just people running, or like the waves coming in to like train or bus or whatever, and it's like you see Bryan Cranston screaming in like a nuclear facility, and it's just like, what the fuck?
He's like, oh my god,
what the fuck is this? And then it does the first, it's just a Japanese symbol, and then it's Godzilla in words. And I remember sitting there, I was so fucking psyched, but I heard the kid next to me. Like I said, this kid had to be like maybe 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, like some of the people that even though it's a matinee, they're like, hell yeah, like this, but this kid's like, Mom, what's that? And I lean over, I'm like, that's Godzilla.
A whole
And
new
she
generation.
smiles, and he's like, what? And I'm just like, it's so fuck yeah.
It was probably one of the most favorite. The trailer that's kind of like got me like most hype. I was the most hyped out of that for like in a long time for a movie. Going like because it got that little kid excited in me, and like all the subsequent movies kind of did too. Whenever they released a new trailer,
And like even the trailer is so like it features the guys jumping down from the AC-130.
yep. Or that poster looks.
Yeah, the poster was fucking fantastic because he's towering over San Francisco.
And the design that they used him for this series is fucking great too.
Yeah.
Like they have him like it's bigger than more monstrous looking. Like they kind of keep a lot of the features from like your classic era Godzilla, but still modified him to make it look more like reptilian and.
Yeah, so he's got he's still got like kind of a classic look to him, but not too cartoony or puppeteerish,
Right.
He doesn't have like these big bulging fucking eyes like an anime cartoon.
No.
And the way they did, like the effects were fantastic. And just going into the movie, I didn't realize this until Kong Skull Island came out in 2017 later on, but it was going to be like a MonsterVerse like series, like they were going to do that, go down that path. But I remember the opener to this was the little boy and Bryan Cranston, the dad and the mom, and they're living in Fukushima.
Right.
They're literally, this is a allegory tale of what happened at Fukushima a year prior with the nuclear disaster and the tsunami.
Right, because they're still keeping like nuclear themes with
Yes.
with these monsters. It's not like on the nose with it being World War II like the original Godzilla movie was, but you're still keeping that that allegory for the for this series.
Instead of like the 50s nuclear scare, we're getting a nuclear scare of a plant failing.
Right.
And they kind of like suppose that, oh no, the plant was attacked. It wasn't malfunctioning. But there's the scene of the whole, like they're walking to the plant. You see the plant in the background and the kids in the forefront, and you're like, this is going to go bad.
Of course.
Like I watched that show Chernobyl.
Oh my God.
by HBO, and I was just like, that was bad, but this is worse.
Yeah.
And seeing that, it kind of foreshadowed the rest of the movie for me. Like this is all right. So they're going to keep the whole nuclear thing. They're going to keep everything's pseudo similar, but they kind of go a different direction with it. We find out that the nuclear plant, Bryan Cranston loses his wife. He sees the monster that we don't see.
Right.
He sees it.
It's very implied for a good chunk of the movie. Like you don't see the monster in full until like maybe halfway through the movie.
Yeah, and Godzilla himself's only in the movie for like 15 minutes.
Yeah, and a lot of that's the thing a lot of people complained about is that you have the story. You're telling the story from the human perspective. A lot of the times on the ground, at ground level, where and you see this giant monster kind of just destroying everything above you. It's kind of like what's that one movie, Cloverfield. It kind of has like a Cloverfield effect to it.
This one kind of works. I think it worked kind of good. I saw this criticism too, but when I went to the theaters and watched this, less was more.
And it was less is more, but it was kind of one of those deals where like the human story didn't,
That's the thing. I kind of like the human story, but it was a lot of.
It was more fun on a second watch.
Yeah, it's a lot of exposition.
Yeah.
For the rest of the series, because we don't see Bryan Cranston and Lieutenant Thomas for the rest of the fucking series.
He actually he dies like pretty early on in the movie too.
Yeah. So yeah, Bryan Cranston. So Bryan Cranston and his son go back, and he's been telling his son, look, this is a fucking cover up.
Yeah.
All right. So they go years later.
It's very conspiracy. That's the thing about this series too. It's very conspiracy driven too.
Yeah, and because you're dealing with a conspiracy corporation like Monarch.
Yeah,
which I thought was very cool.
And they use Hollow Earth for all of their for all of their shit too.
Yeah, we don't get that until later on, until Skull Island.
Right.
And this one there's a giant egg.
Yeah.
Where the accident happened, and now they've seen too much. The military's come in, like, look, we lied. This is why your wife died. It's like we got to cover this up, and it's too late. The egg starts hatching, and we get the name of it called the Muto.
Yeah,
which I thought was pretty cool. It's like a very vague, even it's an anagram.
Mm-hmm. I love how that's the way to kick off like every new series. Try to introduce a new monster and see if it sticks.
Yeah, so it's a winged Muto too, so it flies.
Yep.
And it has a very it kind of reminded me of those. monsters from Pitch Black. You remember that movie, Vin Diesel?
No, I never saw Pitch Black.
Pitch Black was cool. There were these demons that kind of flew. They had these like. You ever seen Starship Troopers?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, the mouth.
Yes.
That mouth kind of looks the same.
Oh boy, like
Yeah, they had bug mouth.
with the bugs. Like,
Yeah.
it's almost like a weapon too.
Yeah. So like it had these like snapping like snips.
It did kind of have the Starship Trooper beak.
Yeah, and I was watching them just like, fuck, that is insane. And now it becomes a international incident. And I just love the build up of them just trying to take down this Muto, and then Godzilla shows up because of the Muto.
Yep.
And like you don't see it coming, and I kind of like that opener.
I do too, and that's the thing that kind of continues, where it's like these monsters are drawn to each other because they appear, and then like they have all these others that show up to kind of meet each other. It's like the one theme throughout the rest of the series too that kind of starts with this one is that there's a clash of the Titans kind of narrative.
Yeah, beginning of the Titans.
Yes.
So. Not to go into the other ones, but like, so we get this idea that, all right, so these things are here because they fix the Earth, basically.
Yeah.
That's what we're told. And that when Godzilla finally shows up, the humans have kind of like tried a lot of these. Hey, we know that the Muto is attracted to nuclear energy.
Yes.
It feeds on nuclear energy, so we're going to try to move a nuclear device from one part to the other. Meanwhile, Bryan Cranston's son has made it back to Hawaii with his wife.
Yeah, and it's the guy from Kick-Ass, right?
Yeah, it's the guy from Kick-Ass. It's also Quicksilver.
That is true. I forgot about that.
Yeah, his wife, Scarlet Witch.
I know, right?
Which is kind of funny because the guy that got Gareth Edwards, went on to direct Rogue One right after this.
I know, right?
And like his like movie career kind of just stops after that. And I'm just like,
I know,
that kind
right?
of sucks because he made Rogue One and Godzilla.
It's two pretty solid like entries in like
And I'm just
big
like,
franchises.
where the fuck are you, dude? Where's Disney like shelling out the fucking bucks for another like story?
Because it's not like this movie or Rogue One didn't. It's not like they didn't do well at the box office. I mean, this was greenlit for a whole set of sequels.
Yeah, and
but yeah, doesn't the Muto have like a mate that it meets up
so
with too?
what we see is actually the smallest Muto.
That's
what
right.
we see. And it's going after nuclear energy, and it feeds and feeds and feeds. And you see Baby Cube and Aaron, that guy Aaron, and you see them trying to fight this motherfucker, and it's not working.
Yeah.
All right, and you can see like they're trying to kill it, they're trying to explode it, but it's like it sucks in all the fucking energy, and that's
After
what
it
it feeds
tries
on.
to draw it away from like civilization and everything too.
Because when we get to Hawaii, the coastal states. Everything's gone to shit. Remember, I like that scene where the water's receding very quickly, and there's like a little boy watching it, and there's a one guy, he's looking at it like, that's not good, because the beach is receding, the whole fucking ocean. That means water's being sucked outward to create a tsunami because fucking Godzilla's showing up.
You see the the potential real life consequences of giant monsters.
And you see
like
the
this.
Muto attacking the tram, and you see Godzilla just beating the shit out of it, and then the military intervenes and kind of fucks it all up, and then they both just disappear.
Yeah.
Which I was like, God damn, these fucking... It reminds me of when we were watching The Amazing Colossal Man,
Yeah.
and it's just like, how do you lose a 60-foot man?
Yes.
How?
Who's a giant monster?
How do you lose that? We need to do the review of the second one.
Oh my God! Yes.
The attack of the colossal beast. He's still alive.
Oh my God.
He lost all the Shakespearean acting, but he's still alive.
No, that's the best part.
His biggest line is "Ah." That's it.
It's very. You're tearing me apart, Lisa.
Yeah. But so they formulate a plan because now the big one has shown up, and it's kind of a reveal that, hey, these things probably killed Godzilla a long time ago,
Right.
during like the nuclear testing. Because you remember the intro footage to this movie where after Bryan Cranston's wife dies and everything, and then it settles the title screen Godzilla, and then it goes into like old footage of like nuclear tests and stuff, and then they showed
it's kind of like a montage with the credits and all that.
They showed the Bikini Atoll test first, and then you see Godzilla's coming up out of the fucking water, and then they nuke that shit, and it's just like, you guys knocked this motherfucker out.
Yeah, the monsters didn't do shit. It's kind of like a callback to like the old Godzilla. It's like, this has happened before.
Yeah, so like Godzilla's been known to exist since at least 40.
Yeah.
Because that's when they, or 50s, because that's when they've been doing the Bikini Atoll testing. But like that cool, like it's ridged back out of the ocean, and you see the island forefront, and then it's just boom.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's so cool.
And if anything, you kind of that's what they feed off of, and it only got bigger as a result too. But I remember watching this in the movie theaters and just really enjoying it, but kind of like kind of feeling those criticisms that we talked about. And then another thing that was talked about a lot is about how the monster fights were like set against like really dark.
Yeah, so the cinematography,
background,
the photography of this one was cool because it kept it kind of ominous, and you only get so every time you see like red, it's the villain, the Muto winning. Anytime it's blue, is Godzilla's taking it. So
that's kind of happens throughout the rest of the series
and
too.
So with like the backdrop of San Francisco, it's very cool to see because we see that after the tsunami in Honolulu, which is in Hawaii, it attacks Las Vegas. The Muto, I remember the Muto attacks Las Vegas.
Yeah,
which I thought was a pretty cool kind of thing. And this is where they realized that it has a mating call.
Yeah,
and that there's a bigger one out there. And just there's the attack on the Golden Gate Bridge. There's the build up, and that's when we get the paratroopers dropping in the halo jump.
Everything you see in the trailer,
and like you get this kind of like, it reminds me of like A New Hope, like Last Attack, Rogue One type thing. They're all just gathered around this like hologram thing. They're just like, this is what we got to do. We need volunteers, and it's just like, you guys ain't coming back from this. Like this is.
Just be prepared.
And Baby Keith's like, yeah, let's rock and roll. And then it's like, Aaron's like, fuck yeah, man. They killed my daddy. Bye-bye.
Some folks are born made to raise the flag.
Oh, God. This is Jump in the Fire. This is not a happy song. This is not a good, like, Volunteers of America type song. This is fucking Jump in the Fire.
This is the end.
Dude, I was at Repo Records today for the first time, and I saw that fucking Forrest Gump album.
No shit.
No shit.
Oh, it's a great fucking soundtrack.
I bought Fleetwood Mac Rumors album for my sister.
Oh my God.
Because it's just about cheating. And then it's like,
that's all it is.
I bought the heavy metal soundtrack.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's right over there.
Fuck yeah.
But yeah, so they do the halo jump, the whole thing from the preview, which does it justice. Like they do exactly what the preview showed, but it's still cool and ominous.
But then the fucking doors close on Godzilla's.
Well, that's during the daytime.
Yeah.
So the daytime, the Muto is fighting Godzilla, and it's losing. That's when it releases that call. Well, everyone's going into the bomb shelters or whatever, and it is a cool shot.
Yeah.
Of just like, because what the trailer doesn't show is the Muto fighting it. And so you see Godzilla, but right when the doors close, the Muto is like going at its throat.
Yes.
Going at Godzilla's throat. So it's very cool to see. And it's like, I haven't seen a Godzilla movie in theaters up until this point.
See, the last one I saw was the 2000. Was Godzilla 2000. I saw that in theaters.
So
but
the last one I saw was 1998's Godzilla.
But just to go in like in 2013 when this was released, just to see a new Godzilla movie, even though like, it's one of those deals where it's like, I was kind of like, it's probably your situation too. It's like we were kind of like in a minority when it comes to like, giant monster movies. Even though it did well, I was like probably more excited about it than any of my friends. That's for sure.
So we found out that the Muto has laid a nest of eggs. So more of these monsters will come out. And Ford, the guy, the son of Bryan Cranston's character, has a small backpack nuke, kind of to destroy them, which is good. And then I get one of the coolest kills in the series. Is so Godzilla's not like doing great, but he's holding his own. But he grabs the giant winged one, right?
I remember this.
And he just breathes fire down its neck, out its fucking side, and it's just like the intensity of that, because you see the spikes flare up. Doom, 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 doom.
Yep.
Whoosh.
It's one of the coolest shots.
Oh God, it's a fucking Mortal Kombat fatality.
It does. Like we haven't seen that in a Godzilla movie. Period.
Yeah, it's just flaying a motherfucker like a knife.
It's like this is like everything that you pictured, what you wish Godzilla would do. Watching guys in suits for so many years as a kid.
So the nuke goes off. Godzilla gets knocked out. So he's down on the ground. Sun rises. It's the morning, and this is what cool shot I liked was it gets up, and people are kind of getting out of their bomb shelters and stuff, and looking at all the damage, and they start getting they're scared, obviously, because they think Godzilla's going to kill them, and he turns his back and walks into the sea, which I kind of liked. You know, a lot of people are like, oh, Godzilla's the monster, so he's the bad guy, which he was in the beginning. Yeah. But, you know, they did the whole transition of like, so you got people who originally watched Godzilla as a cautionary tale of nuclear testing. Yeah. We see Godzilla because of all the movies we've watched as he's a protagonist. He's a good guy.
Exactly. He's the hero, and then like he becomes the anti-hero, and they kind of do a little bit of both. With this one, starts off as like the unstoppable force, but then, you know, he just kind of is indifferent. So I don't know if that kind of moves into the anti-hero category because he's still, you know, a raging monster throughout the rest of the series. But he's just kind of like, it's like that reptilian thing. It's like how King Kong versus Godzilla was in the old movies, where it's like he's just brute force. Yeah. But his goal is not to destroy, it's just to exist.
Yeah. And I do like that one thing that became a meme, the Asian scientist. Let them fight.
Yes.
And I'm just like, I love that guy so fucking much.
He's the best character in the whole series. One of the best characters. I think my favorite ones, we're still on Skull Island, which we'll get to.
Yeah, so that one kind of ended very quickly. It's a very, like I said, like, a lot of monsters show up, but they dub him like King of the Monsters or whatever. And we don't get more of Godzilla until later on. But between that time, after the 2014, we get the 2017 Skull Island.
Which is like one of those, like, if Godzilla works, might as well work in King Kong with this.
Yeah, and like I kind of like that they did this.
Because this is also like 10 years. We could do like a whole King Kong series if we really wanted to.
That'd probably be the next one when we go into like the whole Toho kaijus, like Rodan and stuff like that.
But like the Toho story behind their acquisition of King Kong is very interesting.
Yeah, it's fucking dirty as shit.
It is dirty as shit. Poor Willis O'Brien.
So this is going into this one. This is Kong Skull Island, directed by Jordan Vogt-Roberts. Vogt-Roberts didn't really do much before this other than Kings of Summer.
I'm the first time I've heard of that.
Yeah, so he hasn't really done much. He had some kind of a Me Too thing happen to him.
Oh, really? Oh, whoops.
Yeah, whoops.
Yikes.
But this one's cool. It's set in 1973, so it's the fall of Vietnam.
Okay.
So we're getting ready. It's actually the exit strategy of the United States. What we're seeing is a team of military guys still in Vietnam. It's not great. Shit's going south. But this one had John Goodman.
Yeah.
And the guy that played Dre.
The guy that, or like the cast for this movie is fucking stacked.
Oh, yeah. So going into the cast real quick, this is Tom Hiddleston, Samuel L. Jackson, John Goodman, Brie Olson, Jiang Tian, Toby Kebbell,
John C. Reilly,
Shane Wingham. And I like how John C. Reilly is like, and also John C. Reilly.
Yeah, pretty much.
I remember seeing the trailer for this. This is one of those movies I kind of didn't watch a lot of trailers for because I didn't want it to ruin it.
I didn't go to the theater and saw this. I waited till it was streaming to watch it.
Yeah, so I went to the theaters and saw this one because it looked cool. And I will say, when I told some buddies of mine about it, I was hyping it the fuck up hard.
It's a fun movie. I really like this one a lot.
But this would, it's based, so this is kind of as if the original King Kong never happened.
Right, it's a whole new story, but you're still keeping a lot of the elements of there being a Skull Island full of creatures that, you know, Kong has to live with and, you know, fight and defeat if he has to. Mm-hmm. And this is kind of like, it's kind of portrayed where he's kind of like an adolescent King Kong, too.
Yeah, so this Kong is the last of his kind.
Right.
Which I thought was a very neat way to go about it, much like Godzilla.
Yeah.
But this one is a very fun movie because it's set on the island.
Yep.
But what we're getting is John Goodman and his partner, the guy that played Dr. Dre in Straight Outta Compton.
Yeah. And this is all Monarch related, too.
This is Monarch. So this is the beginning days of Monarch, but it's on a government level.
Right.
And they're looking for funding. And John Goodman's a fantastic actor in this movie. There's a lot of like slapstick comedy in this one.
I know it. Everybody's
it's not as much as a horror show like the Peter Jackson one.
Although there's some moments where where it just gets fucking explosive, and you're like, oh shit, there's some brutal fucking kills.
So it opens up in 1944 where we see two pilots dogfight going at us. John C. Reilly's character and then a Japanese pilot. They parachute over the Pacific after combat and are about to fight each other.
Yeah.
and a giant ape appears. We get more into it later on in the movie where John C. Reilly's explaining it to him. He's like, "That's my brother."
Yeah.
He treated it, and it's like, you guys lived on this island with this giant ape for a very long time. And, just think about that for a second. There are stories of Japanese soldiers who were on these islands and didn't know World War II was over until like the 70s.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. We get a funny version of that in Archer.
Yes.
It's fucking over, bro.
Yeah.
No, the fuck it's not.
Did we win? No.
Fuck no. We threw a sun at you twice. So, like I said, we go back to 1973. The organization approves scientific research study into what is Skull Island,
right?
Which I love. Is all right. We're gonna contact the best of the best that we got left in Vietnam.
It's kind of like Predator, where you get these the best of the best mercenaries to go to this remote island.
And Sam Jackson's like that Apollo Creed character.
Yes,
is that Carl Weathers character. He's like, we're gonna throw you in the shit.
It basically,
because we know no one else would take it, and you could do it. And I'm just like, oh my god, I want to watch Predator so fucking bad after this.
I know it. Oh man, I got to watch Prey, and we got to do a Predator episode.
Oh yeah, we will. We're gonna do all those movies. We're gonna do not the AVP ones. Those movies suck.
No, but, we don't have to do that. But yeah, definitely a Predator episode.
I will say this. Going into it, I heard a fucking comment on the comment section of Prey, and a guy literally said it's better than Predator.
That's what I've heard too.
And I'm just like, you ballsy son of a bitch.
I can't wait to watch this.
I kind of wish I was 9 again.
Right?
That's one of those things. Is like, I kind of want Alzheimer's now because I just want to watch all my favorite movies over again
with a fresh perspective.
Oh my god, that's fucking awesome! Watching Shawshank Redemption for like the first time again. Instead of watching it on TBS like an asshole.
5 hours later.
5 hours later. 2 parts.
Yes.
All right, so they boot and rally the Colonel Packard, which is played by Samuel L. Jackson, and they go in and they get a mercenary, Tom Hiddleston.
I know it.
So we got Nick Fury, we got Loki
again.
We got Captain Marvel.
Everybody's pulling from the Marvel universe.
Oh my god, stacked fucking team.
And what's that one guy's name that he's always like a military guy? He's in that in that Netflix series about Waco. What is that guy's name? He's always like the military grunt with like the Marine haircut.
Oh, John Ortiz?
Is that his name?
I think that's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Anyway, they get in the helicopter, or they're on the boat, or before they get they have to contract Tom Hiddleston.
Yeah.
And Tom Hiddleston is a hardcore mercenary.
Yeah.
Who's just trying to get the fuck out of Vietnam right before it falls, because there's Saigon.
Right.
Which, for history buffs out there, Saigon falls in 1973 and becomes Ho Chi Minh City.
Yep.
There is no Saigon. Charlie Daniels was right. Stuck in Saigon.
Yep.
Still in Saigon.
What's that?
And I like... so they get on the boat. They're talking about what they're going to be doing. And these guys are battle-ridden. These guys fought in the the Vietnam Civil War, and they made it out alive. But there's this last fucking mission, and it does remind you of Predator a little bit. It's like one more in the fucking hole,
one more job, then they'll be able to retire. That kind of thing.
Fuck this. And I do like the smaller scientist. The younger scientist is this Asian woman.
Yeah.
And she talks about how she has a twin, and it's just like she's been part of Monarch, and I'm just like, this is their callback to Mothra,
exactly.
Which we do see again. It turns out that she's the grandmother of the other scientists we see in King of All Monsters
with Mothra, and that kind of has that. And she has that connection with
so
with it too.
Her family's been part of Monarch for a while, and they've known this thing. It's just like they don't incorporate the whole singing part of it, which is fine.
But
it's
yeah,
still
we don't need that.
A solid fucking Easter egg when I call it immediately.
I love it, and a lot of the callbacks to King Kong when we get further along into the movie. But yeah, shit goes wrong. I forget what happens.
So they're gonna have to fly in on helicopters because they can't get the boat through because Skull Island is surrounded by a giant cloud of hell,
right?
Which is cool, which kind of adds a little aspect.
So
to
everything about the island is dangerous.
So before they get on the boat, Brie Larson is allowed to come on. She's a war photographer,
right?
But she can hold her own. So Tom Hiddleston is a SAS soldier, Special Air Service captain, which is the British intelligence.
Yeah.
So they're all hopped on the boat. They get the helicopters ready, and it's two main groups. It's Packard, Samuel Jackson, his crew, and Hiddleston and his crew.
Right.
Well, they make it through the storm, which is awesome. And then it's the land of the rising sun, which I thought was just like a cool little backdrop because you see the sun rising, and they're flying into the sun basically. You know, they're flying.
The cinematography on this is so awesome.
Yeah, so they're flying west. They're going east.
Yeah.
Okay. They're able to make it through the storm, and they begin. So there was a helicopter that lands to set up their computers for the land mapping.
Yeah.
Now, while this is going on, Samuel Jackson, Hiddleston, Brie Larson, all them, they're still in the helicopters above, and they start dropping seismograph bombs.
Right.
Start rocking the fucking jungle and shit. I don't know if you remember, they had like a little mini record player set up in one of the helicopters that had speakers and shit. And they start playing Paranoid by Black Sabbath.
Which is so cool.
It's fucking awesome. And like the soundtrack for this whole thing was pretty good. I did pull up the soundtrack of this. And
because it's a timepiece. You got to have a lot of time period
they
music
had,
to go with it.
Time Has Come Today by the Chamber Brothers. White Rabbit by Jefferson Airplane.
Always got to have Jefferson Airplane in a Vietnam-ish movie.
The Hollies, Long Cool Woman.
I remember
the
that.
Stooges, Down on the Street.
I remember that. That was fucking cool, too.
Black Sabbath's Paranoid, Jorge Ben Brother, Bad Moon Rising by CCR, Ziggy Stardust by fucking David Bowie.
I remember that.
And I'm just like, when I heard that, I was like, John C. Reilly is just like as Dewey Cox again.
Exactly.
Doing his version of it. Run Through the Jungle, you know, and We'll Meet Again by Vera Lynn, which is basically the nuclear song.
Right. It's like what John C. Reilly is, references, or that's what they play at the end, right?
We'll Meet Again. So coming up on the horizon line while those bombs are being dropped off, they're awakening a lot of stuff. You see a lot of animals kind of fleeing the jungle and shit, like deer, or hind deer and stuff like that. But I do like the first time we see Kong through the lens of a camera.
He gets right out of the gate. As soon as they get to the island, there's fucking Kong.
Yeah, but like she's raising up her camera. She's taking all these beautiful photographs, but John Goodman's got has a film camera, and you see the silhouette of the giant ape, and like that helicopter pilot, is that a fucking monkey?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden a palm tree goes flying through a goddamn helicopter.
Right in the middle of Paranoid too. It just like stops.
Dun, dun, dun. And he's like, evasive action, and they're fucking swarming this motherfucker, and it is just terror.
It's like it's kind of like how Godzilla was, where it's like this is what would happen to a bunch of helicopters if a giant ape attacked them. It's like it's very
brutal.
It's very brutal and it's very destructive, and you see the effects in it were a lot. That's the thing about all these movies, the effects are so fucking good, so fucking cool and realistic looking.
Yeah, and the kind of like after the whole attack, they get split up.
Yeah.
And Brie Larson and Tom Hiddleston, their group, get separated from Sam Jackson and his group. And we get one lone soldier by himself, which is kind of like the fucked up part of the movie where he gets killed by a giant spider.
Yeah. That's kind of like how the original movie was too, where they're not only, having to deal with Kong, they're having to deal with the elements of everything on the island.
I do like the fact that he's by himself long enough to see Kong, and he's getting some water out of that river, and Kong just begins to slaughter a giant octopus that's in the fucking water, and he starts eating that motherfucker. And I'm just like, that's so fucking metal.
There's always a giant octopus. There's always like normally there's a giant dinosaur and stuff like that too. But in
this one we didn't get a giant T-Rex. We got a skull crawlers.
Yeah,
but John C. Reilly calls them. So they make their way to what's called the Iwi people. Tom Hiddleston and Brie Larson and all them. And they're with like 2 or 3 soldiers with them. One's like a mechanic. One's the black guy that had the record player.
Yeah.
And so they make it to the Iwi Tribe, and that's where we meet John C. Reilly, who's been on there since 1944.
Right.
And he's so fucking happy to see him. Like he's like, holy shit, I haven't spoken English to nobody in a long time.
And the thing about like John C. Reilly is like he's like very, he just makes you smile. He's very comedic like that too, and his performance is great because he's good at what he does. He's never not going to suck in a movie.
He brings a lot of brevity.
He does a lot of brevity.
Like if you watch, I don't know if you've ever seen it, but Boogie Nights.
Yeah,
he's a very saving grace of that movie.
Yes, he is.
And he's just like really cool with a lot of shit.
Yeah, everybody is with that movie.
Everybody be cool
except William H. Macy.
Yeah, William H. God, that's a sad fucking story.
Yeah.
Fun story that the woman that plays his wife is an actual porn star.
Oh my god, I didn't know that.
So they meet they meet up with Marlowe. Marlowe's the survivor, and he's telling him about Kong. And I love this kind of like back and forth. He's like, Kong is God on the island, and he's like, his family was murdered and killed and slaughtered by
the skull crawlers.
And they're like, why do you call him that? He's like, because it's cool.
Yeah.
Because made it up.
I don't know what else to call it.
I don't know what to call it.
They look kind of like plesiosaurs or...
Yeah. They got long... it's a head with a tail.
Yeah.
And 2 arms. Mm-hmm. And they're fast as fuck.
Yeah.
And they woke him up by accident.
Exactly. Like the king skull. Well, there's a bunch of like baby skull crawlers, but then there's like the queen or king skull crawler.
Which we do get again in
the Godzilla versus Kong. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it dies immediately.
Yeah, exactly.
So what I like about this one is like we see all the other animals that are on this island. Like you remember the giant ox?
Yes.
That thing was just fucking cool.
So they make Skull Island like a character, like you're supposed to in a Kong
Metropolis
story,
or Gotham or something like that.
And they don't go into like I mean, when we get into our Kong series, we'll probably go into how the Peter Jackson one was very convoluted and just went on for too long.
Jack Black and Adrian Brody.
I know.
A giant Kong.
I know the casting's a whole other thing, but that's a whole other podcast.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed this movie a lot. This is probably one of my favorites in the series.
Yeah. And just going into it, there's a lot of introduction of other like giant animals. There was remember the giant stick bug?
Giant stick, yeah,
that was cool to see because he wasn't like a carnivore, but
no, he was just there.
He was just there. He's just like, holy shit, that thing is massive. Mm-hmm. And we find out that Kong is the last of his kind because the skull crawlers basically or murdered all of them. And there was a comic series that came out right after this that kind of told the prequel story of this, of how Kong's family died.
Yeah.
And there's that Valley of the Skulls. Mm-hmm. Like, it's kind of it's like green and red. There's like a fog, and it's kind of like a horror thing. But eventually, just kind of just skipping over a lot of stuff in this movie. This actually had one of the lowest ratings of the entire MonsterVerse series,
which is crazy, right?
Yeah, so like IGN gave it an 8 out of 10
because it's a solid movie altogether. Like, but a lot of people kind of didn't see this as like part of the monster verse. It was kind of its own, entity.
Yeah, what was cool is like you don't think it's part of the MonsterVerse until the end.
Yeah, exactly.
So we get the great fight scene of Kong fighting 2 of the skull crawlers,
and he does the thing at the end that you want to see in every Kong movie where he's
jaw open,
where he rips the jaws open.
Basically, the Kong's
move,
like curb stomp.
Yeah, so Godzilla had the fire down the throat. Kong has the fucking jaw split.
It's the jaw rip open. And all the while they're able to. Sam Jackson decides to go toe to toe with Kong, which is a fucking mistake.
Yeah, because he's like the guy that goes rogue, and he's just like, I'm not.
Well, he loses his mind.
Yeah, exactly.
He loses his fucking mind. And granted, that's fine. He is in the jungle fighting giant animals.
And he had just got through with Vietnam.
Yeah, giant bamboo stick spiders who just come out of fucking nowhere and rip your soul out. So they do the whole standoff scene. Sam Jackson gets killed. Kong lives. And they're able to make it out. Now, what's really cool about this, they got up John C. Reilly, and they're able to get the boat out. Because when they meet the Inuit people, they're behind a giant gate, which is a callback to the original Kong of the natives who built a giant gate to sacrifice white women to.
Exactly.
Hey, new white lady.
Yeah. Come here, pretty white lady.
Yeah.
We need you for our God.
Yeah, and so they reached the rendezvous point where they're able to get the fuck out of there. But what was cool was they pan into the sky and you see 4 Russian helicopters. Mm-hmm. 4 Chinese Russian helicopters coming in. I'm just like, that's a fucking mess waiting to happen. And then
well, before that, calling back to like the woman and the female and Kong presence, does it call back to that too, where Brie Larson gets picked up?
Yeah, she almost drowns.
Yeah, but then Kong picks her up.
Yeah, and he's holding her while he's fighting off a fucking crawler.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, God damn, this is like watching Transformers.
Yes.
It's like, how did you not crush that motherfucker to a million pieces when you transformed?
I mean, you got to include. I guess that's in the contract for every like Giant Ape movie. You got to have like the pretty girl in the hand.
So when they return, this is the end song. Mm-hmm. It's Marlowe reuniting with his wife.
Yeah.
And grandkids and everything, and he's at a baseball game.
Yep. That's the thing. They talk baseball shit with everybody in this whole thing too.
How the Cubs doing? The Cubs haven't won since forever, man.
Yeah.
What? The Cubs are the shit.
Cubs fucking suck.
Yeah, they're like the worst fucking team. And what sucks is like Tom Hiddleston and Brie Larson's character get fucking detained.
Yeah.
And they're basically instructed by, hey, you're going to be part of Monarch or we're going to have to kill you.
Yeah.
Which is kind of fine. And then they start showing them, and that's when they start showing them all the footage some of the footage we saw from Godzilla, which is the nuclear testing, cave paintings of Rodan.
Yep, this
Godzilla,
is during the credits and stuff like that too.
Mothra, all these other ones, and we see the Rodan one was cool, but I really got a kick out of the Kong versus the Godzilla. But we also get
Ghidorah,
a cave painting of Ghidorah and like lightning bolts and shit.
and that's the one that gets every fan like me like excited, just kind of seeing that, and you're going like, oh, there's going to be a movie with this. They're going to do this, because you can't do a Godzilla series without Ghidorah. They've done that with like everyone so far.
Yeah, and yeah, it was a solid piece. Like it's like the Marvel universe, you know. It's a solid.
It's utterly rewatchable too.
Yeah, and like it had it's got like 8.8 out of 10. It made all the money back. You know, it made more money, but. I was reading some of the reviews before we started the episode. I'm just like, man, fuck these people with these 1-star reviews. I'm like, you're just being a little bitch. It's literally a comic movie. Like this is a
popcorn flick. It's a popcorn flick, but it checks all the boxes.
I'm not watching the Green fucking Mile. You know what
No,
I'm saying?
exactly. It's a giant monster movie. What do you want?
This thing's it winning the Academy fucking award for Best Picture, even though it fucking should. You know, like some of these, like that's what I hate about like. There's a little tangent here. This is what I hate about people who like award movies. It's like, really? You're gonna give a Best Picture? What about the one that made $1 billion?
So I've only watched your
what about that movie that made $1 billion fucking dollars?
Yeah, your Best Picture. I'm probably only going to watch once and probably enjoy it, but probably
4
not.
years later, I'm gonna watch it 4 years fucking later.
Yeah, exactly.
When it's added to the updated Criterion Collection or some shit.
Exactly.
And I'm gonna have no fucking care in the world about that movie.
No, meanwhile, I've watched Kong Skull Island like 10 times before then.
Yeah, and 2 years later, 2019, we get Godzilla, King of All Monsters.
And I saw this in the movie theaters.
I did too. This was directed by Michael Dougherty. Now, this is one I can't quite remember the trailer for, other than it was showing Millie Bobby Brown and Vera Farmiga, mother-daughter, and the coach from Friday Night Lights.
Yes.
That dude is a great, like insert father figure here.
Yeah, that's always mad.
Yeah, he's always mad. Doesn't look like he smiles, and when he does, he's hurts. It's hurting.
Millie Bobby Brown doesn't have her powers, but she's still getting in the jams.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna. And that whole story arc's kind of
It's neat.
It's neat. That's about it. But when I was very excited about this movie when I was, getting ready to go see it in theaters, because you've got Godzilla, you've got. They're selling it as him fighting King Ghidorah, him fighting Rodan, him fighting Mothra, arguably your biggest franchise Toho monsters.
So this one, this is when we find out that Vera Farmiga's character had been working on the whole monster thing after the fight of Godzilla in San Francisco.
Right, with
and we
Monarch.
find out that because those two animals fought each other, right after the destruction, San Francisco basically became a forest.
Right.
Because of the radiation and the growth of everything. So that's what kind of a good thing of the monsters were. They cleared out an area and built a forest. Right. Like a forest just pops the fuck up. So it's not just wanting destruction. It's like, hey, these are what these guys did afterward. They're titans of the world, Earth. So whatever fucks with the Earth, they fucking kill it.
Right.
Which I think is pretty neat.
They are our masters now, that kind of thing.
So we're beholden to these creatures. And O'Shea Jackson Jr.
is back.
Babby Cube is back. As the same character. He's been working with the Monarch organization. And Ken Watanabe's character in the background. We don't really see him in this one. We see him in the next one. Yeah. But they've been working on this whole thing. So they're labeled as Titans, which I think is probably a little better than Mutos across the board.
Or monsters.
Yeah, which is just like, it sounds like that's like, that would be the derogatory term.
I know. Well,
it's like fucking monsters.
It kind of like, I guess it makes it sound a little bit more fancy,
Yeah. It's kind of like when you don't hear there was a reason in NASA they don't say the word fast.
Or in
because it's like that's a connotation of dangerous.
Right. Or like WWE, where it's not wrestling, it's sports entertainment.
Kayfabe.
Although not anymore with Triple H at the helm.
Who gives a shit? I haven't watched that shit in a very long time. Mm-hmm. I have no idea who's in other than people I've seen on Attack of the Show.
Yeah, nobody has.
Yeah. So they're using a thing called Orca, which is a kind of like a sound system, basically. We open up with so Vera Farmiga's character. She's working with a group of people. We don't really know who. A lot of characters from Game of Thrones are in this show,
Right. Like the older guy, the big bad in this.
Yeah, so they're going into this, and basically it's a mercenary group of kind of terrorists.
Yeah.
And they end up capturing the daughter of the Asian character from the Vietnam Skull Island.
Right.
And she ends up getting killed.
Yeah.
And we find out she has a twin.
Yep.
Which is kind of a fuck you moment in the movie. And then it's the whole Mothra, which I love the intro of Mothra in this one. It's a giant larva egg.
Yep.
And they start playing the music, and it expands, and I'm thinking it's going to kill all these fucking people with like some weird blue mist.
Right.
And I'm just like, oh, fucking run. But no, it's just this giant, beautiful fucking moth.
It's still kind of like a protagonist guardian kind of thing.
We get a lot of that going in toward the end of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, that's a cool opener, right?
And this is still in Antarctica, right?
They haven't gone to Antarctica yet.
Okay.
This is where they're in the caves.
That's right.
And so they turn it loose, and that was the terrorist act itself. And they're like, hey, we got all this information about all the other ones. We see like the Orca device is waking them up,
right?
Which is a signal, basically. And that's when the group kind of picks up and leaves with Millie Bobby Brown and Vera Farmiga with that fucking device.
Yeah.
And they're like, we're going to Antarctica because the big one's down there, the real king of monsters.
And they kind of have like they use the whole like Antarctica's part of that big hollow earth, conspiracy, if you keep up with that kind of thing, where like they have all these routes that go through like throughout the middle of the earth, whether it's reptilians or Nazis or anything else you read about that. They kind of tie that into this, but with rogue groups of monster scientists and stuff like that.
It's like a very 60s villain, scientist with too much power.
It really is.
Yeah. So they were being led by Colonel Alan Jonah, character. This guy is a character actor who played in Game of Thrones.
Yeah, the big
very,
bad,
very popular villain character in a lot of movies.
He was. What was his character's name? I spent so long since I watched Game of Thrones. That was the problem with it too.
He was Tywin Lannister.
Tywin Lannister. That's what it was.
Yeah.
There's
you
so
watched
many
Game of Thrones? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I watched. It's been so long now.
Let's talk about that. Fuck this.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the terrible writing of the last 3 seasons.
Fuck. God damn. That's a whole podcast.
Yeah. So. So his name is Alan Jonah, which is kind of a generic name, but I kind of liked it. Let's keep it simple. But we go back to the monarch scientist, which is Ken Watanabe, the guy that's let them fight. Yeah, that guy. And they kind of form up a plan, like, hey, we got to figure out a way to stop these guys. And one of them says, hey, let's wake up Godzilla.
Yeah, it's kind of like that whole tried and true like plot device that's used in all the other movies too.
Yeah. So we do find out that Vera Farmiga and the husband blame Godzilla for the death of their son during the Battle of San Francisco.
So now it's just fuck this monster.
He's kind of on a mission of just kill them all, which is kind of a stupid fucking attitude. I know it.
It's like I wasn't a fan of this story arc at all, really.
But they go after Monster Zero, which we know as King Ghidorah.
Mm-hmm. Which is that's in Antarctica, right?
Yeah. So they make it to Antarctica very quickly. They free it, and what I like about this scene is when they free it, they use that Orca device, right? Mm-hmm. And Antarctica, just the cold, desolate place. When this fucking thing rises out of the ground, it kills one of the twins immediately. Yeah. Which I thought, okay, that's foreshadowing into, okay, you're just going to piss off Mothra later on. But the way it comes out of the ground, 3 heads, the wings, and then we see the lightning. The flash yellow lightning was so fucking good in this because it kind of hides them a little bit because you don't really see other than like a shadow in the clouds kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. The background's very dark with this scene too. Yeah, it is. And the thing about this movie that's different from the first one too, a lot of the complaints about the first movie was that like there wasn't that much monster action. Well, you get a lot of monster action in this movie.
Yeah, and just like the wanting destruction from these fucking things. So they show up in Antarctica. Like I said, they turn him loose, basically. Yeah, pretty
much. Even though he's like the strongest of them all.
So there's an argument brewing that Monarch gets a message from Vera Farmiga's character saying, "Hey, all the monsters have got to be let loose,
right,
to undo the damage we've caused."
Yeah, her thing is like human. Yeah, exactly. Humans are responsible for more destruction, and if we release these creatures, it'll bring balance.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
And this is actually a very fast-paced movie.
Yeah. Again, nonstop monster action. Like you complained about monster action or lack thereof in the first movie, you get it in this one.
So it's very quickly that we find out that they right after Antarctica, we find out that Monarch has built a giant like aircraft, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And this is before the aircraft we really see it. They end up in Mexico.
Yeah.
They in Mexico, and there's a volcano or a mountain.
Yeah.
And they do Rodan.
And I like the spin that they give Rodan on this one. They kind of give him like a fire demon.
Yeah, so he lives in the volcano
identity,
and that's why the volcano never erupts.
Right.
And so he pops off, and like what I really liked was the effect of Rodan flying over places, and then a massive like sonic boom behind him,
which was his main power in like all the Toho versions.
And they really show it cool. It's like a fucking like a tornado or a hurricane winds form behind him because he's so massive.
And he's covered in engulfed in flames too.
Yeah,
so you see him flying behind all the planes and everything too, and just taking them all out too.
It's basically a wave of a nuclear blast just flying over because it's like heat and air.
Pretty much.
And because it creates a vacuum too, which is what is a sonic boom, is vacuums back in. So all those people are dead.
Yeah,
it probably killed like 300,000 people as soon as it came out.
Yeah, exactly. Again, with these movies, you see absolute destruction.
So this is where we finally see Godzilla come out of hiding and go right after Ghidorah.
Because that's the thing too, because of the nuclear, because of their what do you want to call, whatever you call it, their nuclear essence, Godzilla is drawn to it, which is the theme of like the last movie too.
Yeah, with the mutos and everything. And another part of this, what I really liked was, in the background, there were images of other giant kaiju.
Yeah, a lot of like
there was a mammoth,
a
turtle,
a lot of made up kaiju that
which I thought was cool, like his original idea.
Yeah, exactly.
Can you imagine like a giant fucking like snapping turtle is like a giant forest on its back?
Just kind of like a not Gamera, but kind of like a Hints.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah. But this is when the Navy tries to use the bomb they created to kill Godzilla. Yeah. Which doesn't work on Ghidorah. No. And this is a callback to the first Godzilla movie, the Oxygen Destroyer. Yep. So Godzilla goes down, and he's kind of down for the count. They basically kill him. Yep. And then we find out, like, this is where the whole Hollow Earth thing comes back into play a little bit. Mm-hmm. Hey, he can dip between areas very quickly, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, where did Godzilla go after he dies? Well, he tried to swim back to his home, which was in the Hollow Earth. Right, in a little like underground cave of sorts as well. Yeah, and it's like you look at the cave and it's all built up like it's a Mayan temple or some shit. Like it's really Aztec looking. There's some statues, skeletons, and shit like that. And it's just like riddled with like nuclear kind of heat. Yeah, it's because it's being powered. It's the fucking Earth heating that motherfucker up. Exactly, and that's how he's getting his power. But they have to feed him some more nuclear energy to wake him up to stop the rest of the monsters. So. There becomes like this little foil between the mom and dad and the daughter. Yeah. It kind of just like breaks the whole kind of tension of the movie a little bit on like a human level. But we find out that the Irene Chin, the surviving twin, discovers that Masahiro King Ghidorah is actually trying to terraform the Earth. And it's choosing to go to where else than Boston, Massachusetts, at the fucking Red Sox stadium to do so. Hey, let's go to Duncan. Yeah, you go to Duncan. Yeah, it's like we're going to Boston because fuck the Yankees. Yeah, go Sox. Of course, the harbinger of our death is a Sox fan. I know. I'm sitting here going like, man, the guy whoever licensed out the Red Sox thing must have been a huge Godzilla fan, or or the studio. And this is where we find out that. The Bermuda base, where the cocoon of Mothra kind of pops out. Yeah. You kind of find out that there's an underwater city that we talked about earlier. And this was kind of like a really fucked up scene. So Ken Watanabe, the scientist, he's like, I'll go down there. Yeah. And he's got a nuclear device, and he activates it. Like in front of Godzilla. And it's kind of a fucked up scene because he just takes his fucking helmet off, and it's just like that, and just sacrifices himself. Yeah, and like, but that's a sight to see type situation. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a very kind of like taking your helmet off in a spacecraft and been like
expecting to just blow up. Like I watched not to get off topic, but it's kind of similar to a thing I watched on Netflix. It's called Love, Death, and Robots.
Yeah.
Where like there's one episode. It's all like animated shorts with different fucked up themes, and one is just a female astronaut that is floating around in space, and because of a miscue, she's floating, and for one reason I forget why, but she has to like take her sleeve off in space and cut her arm off in order to save her life into whatever situation she was in. I forget exactly what happens, but it's kind of like that.
Yeah. And it's just a wild kind of thing. I love scenes like that when you kind of just accept it.
Exactly.
And say, fuck it, let me just burn one down real quick and just.
Or it's like The Departed, where he lights up a cigarette before he dies in the car. He's like, fuck it.
All right, so they
wake up Godzilla.
They wake up Godzilla and King Ghidorah is just fucking up Boston, and Rodan is there, and we see kind of all right. So Godzilla makes it.
Yeah,
they're able to follow Godzilla to Boston. And I'm just thinking, why not just take a step back and let them just fight it out, and whoever wins will just deal with it,
right.
Instead of just being right here.
I know.
I want front row.
Millie Bobby Brown's like, I gotta be there for this.
I am a god.
Yeah.
I have plot armor. I will never die.
I have powers. You're not in Stranger Things, bro. Get out of there.
That's the cool thing about child actors. I will never die.
Yeah, really.
And it's just like, oh, you guys die all the time.
Yeah.
Especially in the Viper room.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Woo! Did Johnny Depp kill him? I don't fucking know.
No. He was definitely there.
He was there though. For our younger audience, that is
what
the fuck we're talking about.
River Phoenix, right?
Pond Phoenix.
Pond.
Aww. River runs through it. Anyway, King Ghidorah kind of overpowers Godzilla, which is kind of cool to watch because now we see like Rodan is involved in the fight,
and then Mothra comes in too.
Yeah, which is really cool because the way they animate Mothra with a fucking like
a
claws,
stinger,
like a stinger
with the claws and the stinger, like that she takes out Rodan with.
Yeah, she kills Rodan, but she's done. Like she can't get back up right now.
No,
and I like that Mothra was able to come back. There's another callback to what we talked about in the first episode of the Kaiju.
Yeah, and Mothra has to die, and anytime she's in a movie with Godzilla, and she doesn't give Godzilla the powers to kill Ghidorah with.
Not in this one, no.
Not in this one, because that's what happens in all the other movies.
Yeah, so Rodan is intercepted and defeated.
Yeah.
Mothra is down for the count. Not dead, but down for the count. At some point, like going back to the Mexico scene, Godzilla was able to tear off one of the heads.
Yeah, from King Ghidorah.
Yeah, which was cool, and then it grew back.
Which you've never seen before, but that's one of those where it's like, why the fuck wouldn't it? It kind of adds another bit of menace to it, where it's like, oh shit,
King Ghidorah. King Ghidorah. That's gonna be because that's all I thought was like they're gonna make a mecha King Ghidorah. That's all they're gonna do. Mm-hmm. And so Emma ends up sacrificing herself to lead Ghidorah away from Madison or Millie Bobby Brown's and Godzilla.
Yeah.
And she's able to turn the Orca thing on to turn all of the Titans against Ghidorah.
Yeah.
Because he's been getting off a signal, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where we get like it's kind of a weird scene, but Godzilla goes like full nuclear red.
Yeah, it's like every moment in every Godzilla movie where he just kind of goes in full indestructible mode or full like scorched earth mode, and winds up defeating Ghidorah in the end.
Yeah, and so he basically eradicates him down to the atom.
Mm-hmm.
And now because Godzilla has done that, all the Titans kind of like bow down to him, which is a neat scene because we actually see a Muto.
Yeah.
And we see the mammoth, and we see Rodan.
Yeah, Rodan comes back and is now, a subject to Godzilla, like is bowed towards his will now.
Yeah, and so it's kind of weird to watch because, like, where were these? Like, they were on their way there.
Mm-hmm.
Did no other backup military groups be like, hey, there's a giant mammoth heading for Boston. I'm pretty sure it went through Delaware and slammed some towns.
Yeah, they kind of gloss over all that.
Yeah. The giant, we don't see the giant turtle because it's a giant forest, but a giant landmass just moving across the map.
It's fucking Discworld or some shit.
Yeah, it's Terry Pratchett Discworld. It's matured.
It's mature. It's
the thing that kills Pennywise.
It's fancy.
The thing that kills Pennywise in the Stephen King book they'll never do because you need a lot of cocaine to understand that book. During the end credits, though,
with the shitty Godzilla cover with the Surge Tankian from System of a Down.
yeah, we see that with news clippings from Monarch have been released about the Titans that heal the planet. The second Mothra egg is discovered. Some of the Titans are converging on Skull Island itself.
Yeah.
Agent K painting show Godzilla and King Kong like Titan.
Yep.
Locked in battle. And the post-credit scene is Jonah, the British terrorist, joins forces, and they find the head of the Ghidorah.
Right.
One of the heads of Ghidorah. And they kind of set up a plan for that.
Because they don't go into that in the next movie, but
They don't. But they do have a similar situation going into the next movie.
And what were your thoughts on this movie overall?
Man, when I went in theaters, I thought I gave it a 10 out of 10. Man, it was a fucking kaiju movie. It's fucking fun. The callbacks, the Easter eggs and stuff were cool.
Yeah, it took me like a second watch to really like it because I wasn't a fan of like the Millie Bobby Brown fought and a lot of the human storylines. I was just I could have done without when I first watched it, but I kind of went into it. I don't know why I expected more out of like the human stories and stuff like that, but it was a lot more fun the second time around too. Plus, you got all the monster fights that you want that made that 8-year-old Godzilla fan of me very happy. But it was a whole lot of fun to watch in theaters without a doubt too. I think I was in Nashville and I went and saw this too.
Yeah, so we go into the next one.
But yeah, Kong Skull Island. This was
Godzilla King of All Monsters.
What's that?
Yeah, so Skull Island.
Well, not Skull Island. Godzilla versus Kong.
Yeah, it was 2021.
Yeah, right as we're in it's the beginning of 2022. Right?
Yeah,
it was like early this year. I can't remember if it was last year or this year because of...
It was last year, 2021.
Oh, it was 2021. That's when like streaming at home, when Universal was really starting to stream movies at home for to kind of like build their quote unquote box office numbers in the COVID era.
Yeah, so right after Skull Island and right before King of All Monsters, Shin Godzilla had came out, part of the Ryo series.
Yeah.
Ryo era. And this is, where Godzilla starts making a big comeback in Japan.
Right.
On their end. But the American Monsterverse is still going strong.
Now, I haven't seen this one, but that's the story behind this one is that it's like the souls of like dead Japanese soldiers, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so going into the 2021 Godzilla vs. Kong, it's directed by Adam Wingard. Adam Wingard has actually been tasked to do the 2024 sequel.
Because this did really well, too.
He's known for being the director of the 2016 Blair Witch movie, which is a neat kind of movie.
Again, that's one series I never watched, oddly enough.
He's a very weird director because some of the stuff he directed is very fucking weird. He directed the Death Note movie. Is okay.
Oh, yeah, I heard it was very... Everybody that loves Death Note, the anime, said this one's very...
Anime fans can shut the fuck up. Fuck them. Unless you're a fan of the Texas anime.
Texas anime?
King of the Hill.
Oh.
And Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah. Sure, that counts.
I sent Alex a video of Beavis and Butthead reacting to Eddie Munson from fucking Stranger Things. It's fucking hilarious.
Oh, that's awesome.
All right, so this one begins with Apex Cybernetics. This is the company, the evil company, the Elon Musk company.
Yeah, really.
That have been working on kind of like a central intelligence or artificial intelligence against Kong. Now
Kong's still on Skull Island.
It's the facade of Skull Island.
Exactly.
So he's in a dome.
Yep.
And he realizes this because he keeps throwing trees at the sky, and the sky falls. He's just like, fuck this place.
Yeah, and he's fully grown now. In fact, he's kind of like a little gray in his hair and everything. This is after This is current era, not 1973 anymore.
This is kind of a fucked up thing. We find out that the Iwa are extinct now. The Iwa people, they're all dead. There's only one left. Who was adopted by one of the scientists.
This
Elaine
little
Andrews.
girl, right?
Yep. Elaine Andrews. She is deaf and communicates with Kong by sign language.
Which I thought was cool because you see, we've all seen videos of like, Coco, the gorilla that does like
and you know how I feel about that.
Yeah, she learned how to lie, which is fucked up.
Gone.
Yeah.
Gone. I just watched another one about a chimpanzee who can like count faster than human beings, and I was just like, nope, not cool.
Planet of the Apes.
Planet of the Apes. We watched these. These were tales. These were tales of warning. These are like the Psalms from the Bible.
This is where it starts.
Yeah, this is where it starts. The Bible told us about this in Revelations. Rise of the monkey people.
Full of horses and machine guns.
Horses, chariots of fire.
Yes.
It's literally just monkeys on fire. So we find out that Apex Cybernetics and we find out this is where the podcast conspiracy thing comes in.
Yeah, the
So-
Alex Jones
Yeah,
character
so-
of this.
Yeah, so Millie's still kicking, and
Yeah.
she teams up with a friend of hers to hijack a car basically and go find this motherfucker.
Just because.
Just because. And it's kind of like the Home Alone treatment. It's just like
It is kind of like Home Alone.
It's like eyeball your put a fucking thing around her neck. Or
Yeah,
something.
where are these fucking parents?
Yeah, it's like you forget Macaulay Culkin once, that's fine, but twice
Yeah.
we're taking him away.
You can't have him anymore.
No. So they end up going to Pensacola, Florida, which
Yeah.
was like
Woo!
another great location choice right there with Boston
Oh my
and
God.
Mexico City. And they stumble upon the massive device during the rampage that's causing Godzilla to attack the facility.
Right.
So they've created basically a device that basically makes Godzilla think King Ghidorah is still kicking.
Right.
And that's what they're using. They're using the skull of Ghidorah to control it.
Even though they got something different in the works.
Yeah, they got another thing that they want to use to kill the Titans
Mm-hmm.
if need be.
Their
And it's a
own,
giant, it's a giant eye.
Yeah,
That's what it is.
That's all they see at first. By the way, when we saw the trailer for this, they did a very poor job of
Hiding Mechagodzilla.
hiding Mechagodzilla, kind of like, burying the lead, because you see, like, you don't see it in full, but you see a part of it, and you're like, that's got to be Mechagodzilla.
Because they're doing it in daytime.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It looks so weird in the daytime.
Yeah. And so the Apex CSO is like, nah, you're fucking wrong. Shut the fuck up. Hollow Earth theory is not real, even though
That's all it is in this movie.
Yeah, it's all it's real. So they're going to do the expedition of, they have a machine, basically a Tesla,
Yeah.
that can reverse gravity.
Yes.
So that's the problem. It's like you go to the center of the Earth, up is down, down is up, and you're going to get split into a million pieces.
Yes. But not if you're King Kong, apparently.
But what I like is like somehow 3 randos are able to get on the train,
Yeah.
the evil layer secret train,
Yeah.
and make it.
I did not like this storyline at all. They could have gotten...
Some like Scooby-Doo-esque.
It's very Scooby-Doo-esque.
Yeah, like, hey, Scoob, what's that? Oh, no, artificial intelligence, Scoob.
We should definitely go investigate. Let's
I
go,
don't know.
gang.
I don't know. Then, like, Korn shows up. Hey, guys.
Yeah. Look what Niblet sees.
I watched that the other night.
Oh my God.
The Korn, the South Park Halloween Korn special.
It's hilarious. They're like, and a 1, and a 2, and a 1, 2, 3.
Thanks, Korn.
Yeah. No
We just
problem,
went on a
gang.
South Park rant about Korn on a
Yeah.
Halloween special about a show about Kaiju. So it's very conspiratorial about the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like the plot is not really there.
It's really not. It's just kind of like it's in between pieces, in between the monster fights, which there are a lot of, and everything leading in between those is done really well too.
Yeah.
Like
we find out that they're able to use the skull of Ghidorah as kind of like a hub.
Yeah.
And I like the guy who puts on the helmet that controls the Mecha Godzilla, and he's not doing well.
Right.
But opening fucking fight.
With Kong and Godzilla.
Well, no, like Mecha Godzilla, and they have one of the eggs of the skull crawlers, and it opens up and it fights the Mecha Godzilla,
That's
and it
right.
just rips it apart.
Yeah.
And
It's
I'm
like,
just
oh shit.
I'm like, yeah, this guy's way OP, too OP for this fucking shit.
But then you get to the fight where they're at the ocean, where the people take Kong to wherever they're going.
Yeah,
And
so-
Godzilla pops out of the water.
Yeah, and it's like kind of there's like a Jaws scene because they're using
It does kind of have a Jaws feel
because
to
they're
it.
using an aircraft carrier to fucking carry this motherfucker, and it is a size differential. It seems like Godzilla was smaller,
Yeah.
and King Kong was bigger, which I don't know.
It's like it's like a small head for Godzilla, and King Kong's a full grown gorilla with a big head, big shoulders, big arms.
The only thing I had a problem with it was what the fuck was Godzilla standing on to fucking hop out of the water that fucking big? Because his base is fucking huge.
Yeah.
It's like his tail just has that much whip in it to make him kind of like float,
It's like a little fucking like a helicopter propeller or some shit.
or like the old Toho sonic boom spin he does.
Yes.
He just bounces on his tail. Because I would have loved that scene of him just bouncing on his tail and kind of like doing like a front flip.
Doing like a little victory dance.
Yep. Oh, the what is it? The turtle. What is the turtle's name?
Gamera.
Gamera.
Yes.
the Carlton dance he does.
Just cuts to Mystery Science Theater. It's like, you know what? I gotta say, I think this movie's kind of goofy. I gotta say it.
So to avoid alerting Godzilla, they take Kong and airlift him to the Hollowed Earth entrance.
Right.
Which, in the Hollow Earth, you basically had a kingdom in the first movie of Godzilla.
Yeah.
But there was also a standing kingdom, basically, in the middle of the Earth where Kong lived. Kong's people lived.
Right.
And they had a rudimentary throne, which I thought was cool.
I thought that was... Yeah, we're just kind of like, I am the crown prince of Skull Island.
But actually, there's like an axe.
Yes.
Like a fucking
which is cool.
Stormbreaker, basically.
Which is cool, because you don't see that a lot in any, like, giant ape movie. Like, you forget that, these apes have thumbs. They can use weapons and tools.
Don't give me any ideas.
Yeah, shut the fuck up.
I don't need Joe Rogan
Shut
doing
the fuck
another
up.
podcast of just like, fucking gorillas don't even bench, right? That's just natural. I'm just like, shut the fuck up.
Dude, it's fucking crazy, bro.
It's idiots like him who ask scientists to like teach fucking apes how to do P90X. And it's just like,
You talk to Joe about evolution.
yeah. Why sky blue?
Why sky blue?
So, so the before they're able to make it back to the bottom of the Earth, basically, you find out that the telepathic link from that skull to the Mechagodzilla kind of broke.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, oh shit, the soul of King Ghidorah is inside of a giant mechanical Godzilla
And there's
with
nothing
machine
we can
guns.
that we can't do to stop it.
Yeah, there's nothing. We created this weapon to kill us.
Yeah.
What have we done? Have we gone too far?
Yeah, but all this happens like in Hong Kong?
Yeah, like Apex apparently has offices all over the world. Pensacola, Florida.
Yeah.
Hong Kong.
Yeah.
What a pull. Why'd you pick Pensacola? No, Texas.
And then they get really. But then they have like Kong gets to, I forget what happens how they both meet up in Hong Kong,
So the Hollow Earth has tunnels.
yeah.
So
I knew it was Hollow Earth.
So like the tunnel they went to is in like Antarctica.
Right.
Or the Arctic. And like all the tunnels kind of lead to this hub in the middle. And that's where they created that machine.
Yeah.
Basically that has like all that energy that can be able to fly up, down, left, right. And that's how they're able to get out of Hollow Earth. But by the time they leave and get to Hong Kong, Mechagodzilla's already turned loose. Mm-hmm. Godzilla is loose.
King Kong is
half fucking awake.
right.
And so they're able to kind of like, so if I remember correctly, it's Godzilla in fucking Hong Kong at night.
Right.
And Kong is able to get back up into Hong Kong.
Right. With a fucking axe.
Yeah. First fight was Godzilla versus Kong on the ocean. King Kong loses.
Yeah.
This one, Kong wins.
It's a knockdown, drag out. Well, this is what happened. I remember this. This is what happens where it's like it's a knockdown, drag out fight with all these fucking Hong Kong lights in the background, which looks really cool. And you see Kong use the fucking axe to block Godzilla's fire. But what happened? I think I remember, if I remember
he diverts
correctly,
the fucking fire.
He diverts the fire, and Godzilla, is about to win, but he doesn't kill him. He lets Kong get up.
Yeah. And that's kind of like bow, motherfucker.
Yeah.
But like it was a 1-1, 1-2 kind of situation. So it's like Kong loses, Godzilla loses, and then
they kind of like meet each other in the middle, going like, "Hey, we're on the same." Now we're on the same team. Where it's like I could kill. Where Godzilla's like, I could kill you, but I'm not going to.
Yeah. So and there's a point where Kong gets knocked out, and they have to use that fucking machine to wake his ass up. Basically, electrolyte that motherfucker.
Kind of like the last Godzilla movie, where it's like it's always like the giant monster is knocked out, down for the count, and they have to be revived.
Needs a Mothra-esque answer.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, what I like about the Mechagodzilla is, it's Godzilla's arms can barely touch his face.
Yeah.
Right? Mechagodzilla has a broader frame. It can actually kind of like throw a jab if it wanted to.
Exactly. It can reach out and grab stuff.
And basically, he's got like Godzilla in a fucking headlock.
Yeah.
And Mechagodzilla's fucking him up. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, it's like watching the Power Ranger Zords a little bit.
It is a little bit.
Yeah. I think they would have been cooler if it was a man in a suit versus a CGI Godzilla.
And this is kind of like it's like with all the other eras of Godzilla, you've got we've kind of got all of our mainstays now. We've got Rodan, we've got King Ghidorah, we've got Mothra, we've got King Kong, now we've got Mechagodzilla. So this kind of like rounds out all of your favorites in a Godzilla series now. And my favorite suit's still the classic one, the Showa era Mechagodzilla suit with all of the rockets and all of the
yeah.
And all of that, and
basically like the Dragon Zord for fucking Power Rangers.
Pretty much, that's my favorite one.
Yeah, so this one actually listed King Kong, Mechagodzilla, Skullcrawler, Warbat, and Hellhawk as characters in the movie. I guess we didn't really see. I guess it was
because Hawks were on the Skull Island.
Mm-hmm, the Hellhawks.
Yeah, the Skull Island scenes.
So the Warbats are the ones that were in the tree. Remember the tree? Mm-hmm. And like, hey, what is that? Is that a tree? Yep. And then they fire off a shot, and then all the leaves just come flying at them. Mm-hmm. I'm like, yeah, those are Warbats. Those fucking things are scary as shit.
But no, it's a knockdown, drag out fight, and
they're actually able to team up.
Yeah.
And he's actually used that axe to take off one of the arms, which I thought was pretty cool. And it reminded me of like just this old ass wrestling match. Come on, brother, do it.
Well, it's kind of like the old Showa era movies too, where all they're doing is basically wrestling.
Yeah. And I would just love to do like the whole like what's his name? Jerry Lawler commentating.
Yes.
He's on the fucking ropes. He's on the ropes.
Oh my God. I'll see some reviews like that where like the reviewer would be like, all right, cute. It's like, you know what to do, Jim Ross.
Yeah.
He's dead. Oh my God, he's dead.
Kids crying and shit. It's just like,
yeah.
There's this close up of Mothra just tearing up.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God. Oh God. But yeah, so like that kind of like ended the American series.
For now.
So 2024, in the next 2 years, Untitled Godzilla versus King Kong. Adam Wingard is still tasked for directing that one. Like I said, it's just TBA. This is Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers.
All Warner Brothers. No Universal? Or I guess it's under the same umbrella?
No, this is Legendary Pictures with Warner Brothers.
Okay, so there's not Universal anymore. Okay.
So, which I think is kind of funny because of, I don't know if you've been keeping track of what's going on with Warner Brothers lately.
No.
And their Discovery.
Oh, that's right. They did that merger.
And apparently they 86 like a shit ton of stuff.
As you do.
But like stuff that was already filmed.
Oh, no.
They made a Batgirl movie. And they $90 million Michael Keaton as Batman. And they 86'd it.
They're shelving it?
They're shelving it.
No shit.
Vaulting that shit. Apparently it didn't look good or something like that. And I'm just like,
oh my.
You still could have shown it.
Yeah.
You would have made that money back as Michael Keaton.
You could have. That would have gotten the Batman audience out. Yeah.
But like they shelved that. They're shelving the idea of a Supergirl movie. They destroyed they're basically 86 in the Snyderverse.
Jesus Christ. I didn't hear about that.
They have a 10-year plan for DC. And I'm just like, no, you don't.
No, they don't.
In 10 years, dude, fucking MCU will be so far gone. And they'll ruin the superhero franchise, and we'll be watching fucking westerns again or some shit.
I know. Everybody's going to be tired of it and be like, man, remember like the good old days with Robert Downey Jr.?
Yeah.
But like I said before, I think this was like the one of the few, because the DC movie universe wasn't successful.
Did you know they didn't even call it DCEU? That was made up by some guy who wrote an article. They have no name for the DC movies.
How shit is like you're the second biggest, probably like comic second biggest comic entertainment franchise, outside of Marvel, or like maybe even say Disney. I guess Disney, or like you got Disney, then you got Warner Brothers. Those are like your top two, right?
Yeah.
But somehow the Godzilla verse managed to make a little bit of money and be successful and to keep going too.
I'm kind of curious if they're actually going to keep going with the Godzilla series.
Well, they got a whole TV series that's coming out through Apple TV.
Yes.
That was announced at Comic-Con.
Kurt Russell and his son.
Yeah, that should be pretty cool. So I wonder if they'll pull from do like a Mothra series. I could see them doing like a Mothra series or like a Rodan series or see if they can get the rights to a Gamera series, because that's not Toho.
I would like them to kind of expand the MonsterVerse other than Godzilla and Kong, but maybe go do like Gamera.
Yeah,
because I'm assuming Gamera was the turtle we saw.
Because like I said, like you've already used all of your mainstays in these 4 movies. Because it's like, what have you got left? You got Gigan, maybe. I'd see that movie, but still, he's kind of like a.
Remember the giant like mountain sized like alien one with all the tentacles?
Yeah.
That was cool.
Yeah, I'd see some like I'd be down for some new monsters too.
Maybe a fucking T-Rex. Fuck it.
Gorosaurus.
Gorosaurus. Tammy and the T-Rex.
Tammy and the T-Rex.
I didn't know Paul Walker was in that.
And Denise Richards.
Yep. The only two movies.
Yep.
They're worth a fuck. But out of those five, like, what would you say would be kind of like a go-to, like, or other best one out of there? Like Godzilla, King of All Monsters, Kong Skull Island, Godzilla.
Kong Skull Island is probably my favorite out of those, and I think and out of the Godzilla ones, I think Godzilla versus Kong was my favorite. It was the most solid one out of all of them, I think.
Yeah, that was a fun movie. I think just because it's set in the 70s and there's not a lot of super tech involved, I think it kind of makes it kind of dumbed down a little bit. And
it's also kind of like brought nostalgia back for me and got me hyped up on Godzilla versus Kong, because that was the first Godzilla movie I had on videotape. It was the original Godzilla versus King Kong on from Toho.
Mine was a colored version of The Return of Mechagodzilla.
Oh, so it kind
that
of...
was the first one I had on VHS. It didn't have a cover sleeve. It was, remember the old clear...
Yeah.
Like the rental videotape one?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what I had.
Nice.
Along with The Amazing Colossal Man and The War of the Colossal Beast.
Oh, that's awesome. I would love to do just one on Godzilla versus Kong, the Toho version, because there's so, like we were talking about, there's a whole lot of just fucked up details and backstabbing that went on with that.
Yeah. We could probably just do a watch along with that.
I would be down to. I'm sure they have a lot of these Godzilla movies on YouTube for free right now.
And HBO still.
Oh, that's right. HBO, that's right.
HBO's got a great fucking source. I don't know if they have Final Wars, but...
Yeah, I'd rather watch like the Kong one. I think that was like the most successful one in the Toho
we'll just
history.
introduce it over its stupid name, Kong versus Frankenstein.
Yes.
No stupid fucking name.
I know it. Well, that's how it was going to be at first.
Yeah. Whatever the fuck that is.
Yeah, but I'm excited to see what happens with the MonsterVerse going forward.
Yeah.
I'm a mark for any of these, and I remember like going to see the King of the Monsters in theaters, and I got picked on for it. It's like, whatever. I'm gonna have fun. Fuck you.
Speaking of a new popcorn flick that's out right now, is Bullet Train. That looks fun
awesome.
So I might go see that. It's got Aaron Thomas in that one too.
Yeah, that's true. He's moving on up in the world. Keeps getting work. Good for him.
So,
but yeah, from all of us here at Kaiju Paradise, we'll keep trucking, and we'll keep the movie commentaries coming. We'll do some watch-alongs, and we'll go further. And if you have any suggestions for us, let us know in our Discord, and throw out any and all suggestions, and we will be listening. So for Chris Morrison and the Kaiju Paradise, I am Cap Nunn.
This is Morrison,
and we will see you next time.